penalties for that alleged lying and award punitive damages to the state of California. Yesterday, California's Governor Newsom shared why he's going after the oil companies now.
The climate crisis is, after all, a fossil fuel crisis, period, full stop. And these guys have been playing us for fools. These guys have been lying since the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and 80s. They knew. And they knew what to do about it to make sure we didn't do anything meaningful about it.
Now, of course, the accused are pushing back, sharing that the courthouse isn't the space to fix climate change. The API shared this with Fox Business. They said this ongoing coordinated campaign to wage meritless politicized lawsuits against a foundational American industry and its workers is nothing more than a distraction from important national conversations and an enormous waste of California taxpayer resources. Now, I will know that this isn't the first type of lawsuit that has been brought against these companies. A number of states have, but Brian, Lydia, Jackie, when California gets involved, there tends to be a little bit more pressure. So we'll see how this lawsuit plays out. I'll send it back to you.
We sure will. Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much for that. And I'll just make a quick comment here on this because remember, we share the atmosphere actually globally. It's not even just, within our country. So maybe you want to go after like the dirtiest polluters like Venezuela and the Middle Eastern oil companies, Saudi Arabia, Russia. They're not paying attention to any standards whatsoever, or go after China and India, two of the biggest polluters out there. Oh no, by the way, we take oil from Venezuela.
It's easier to virtue
and we
signal.
take it.
It's easier to virtue signal.
From Saudi
why do
Arabia.
something?
So kill our companies
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit more. Meantime,
Exactly.
we've got these oil refineries struggling to keep up with the demand for diesel. Prices jumping as Russia and Saudi Arabia extend oil production cuts that could last through the end of the year. That's adding to the crunch we're seeing out there. The global refining system has been streamlined since less efficient plants were shut down during the pandemic and never reopened. And that's a serious problem because there's a lot of demand out there and we never had enough refining capacity.
Right.
So if you've got plants that are shut down and you're not bringing them back online, it's just one more step to try to not only kill the industry, but it hurts the consumer.
We're about 1 million barrels shy of the refining capacity we had before the pandemic. That's like 5 refineries closed. And it was interesting, we had Kevin O'Leary on the show and a couple months ago, and he made the announcement, I'm going to build a refinery.
Yeah.
And what was crazy about that is how crazy it was. Like, the fact that you have to be sort of crazy and want to do, like, this is your last gasp kind of investment thing, because nobody who's sane looks at our administration and says, if I build one of these refineries, it's going to work.
Yeah,
It's so sad.
It is sad. And, it's troubling because, we're having some sense of optimism from some corners of, investors and analysts saying, we might have a soft landing here. All we really need is a flare-up in energy prices, and it could very easily come from diesel prices. That's just going to set, what the Fed is trying to do off kilter, and we could very well go narrowing in on a recession and not have that soft landing that people are so desperately.
And when you have the other players on the global stage, basically President Biden accuses our oil companies of price fixing. The OPEC Plus is price fixing. They're taking advantage of a weak president, a bad energy situation in this country, and saying we better try to, gin up as much business for ourselves and as much, bring the price as high as we can to profit from it. The only people who lose here is us.
Yeah, nobody loves Bidenomics more than Saudi Arabia. I'll tell you that right now. All right, no tie? No problem, apparently. The Senate is ditching its dress code.